Welcome to the Fantasy Football Forge. My name is Steve, and it is Rankings Week. So, good morning to you if you are watching this early after it got put out. There will be 4 videos today. This is the first of them with the tight end rankings. In a couple of hours, we will have the quarterback rankings. And then in the afternoon, the wide receiver and the running backs video will both be coming out as well. So, please check out whichever videos are going to be helpful for you throughout this week. That is always appreciated. As far as these rankings go, these are not my final rankings. The rankings are fluid throughout the week. There are a lot of things that can happen that will, alter them throughout the week, as well as just getting a little bit more research done throughout the week. There are just a couple of quick things that we can explain here. So over on the left here, this is my ranking order, obviously, and I split them up amongst tiers. So each color will represent another tier, and I'll kind of explain the confidence level within each tier. Then I hope you can find out the next 2 columns, and after that is the matchup difficulty for this week for each player. And that is a part of my player temperature gauge, which you can find up on my website, www.theFFforge.com. As of Thursday, I will have all of the projections up for each of the players. I have already finished the projections for the tight ends and the quarterbacks, so these rankings will be quite similar to my final rankings. There will be some alterations made throughout the week, and ultimately on Sunday you can find my final rankings with me live 1 hour prior to kickoff here on YouTube. Now, the main reason that my wide receiver and running back rankings are going to be the most different from my actual final rankings is because I will not have done the projections by the time that I am making this video for them. I start off with the ECR for all of these videos, which is the expert consensus ranking from Fantasy Pros website, and then I alter them from there in order to create these rankings for this video. So I do stand by these, but as I get more information, they will change. And then over here, you can see the difference that I have. If it's a positive number, then I am above the ECR, and if it's a negative number, I'm below it. And we will be talking about some of the players who I have the biggest difference with compared to the ECR. So let's start off with the first tier for my tight end rankings. And there's just these 5 guys in this tier, and usually for the tight end tier here, I just state it as these are the guys who I would feel comfortable with, where if I had 2 of them, putting one of them into my flex spot. I do think that they have value that is equivalent to, some of the wide receivers and running backs out there that you would be thinking of flexing. That's how this tier goes, so a lot of confidence in them. And starting off at my tight end number 1, I have Travis Kelce, followed by Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, Pat Freiermuth, and Gerald Everett to wrap that tier up. There really isn't anything special to say about any of these players, and I think to play them if you have them. So let's move on to my second tier, and really this tier is almost a bridge tier between 2 groups here, where I'm quite confident in starting these players, but there is a little bit of hesitation in starting these players over even this next tier of guys. Like, there's just that little concern there, whereas with those top 5 guys, I don't really have that concern. And so that starts off with Dalton Schultz at number 6, and it is a good matchup here against Houston. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned that. Red is good, blue is bad. White is neutral for the difficulty rating over here. So this is a good matchup for Dalton Schultz, but it is a very limiting as far as upside type of matchup. So, I'm not expecting a huge day from Dalton Schultz. He could slide back just a couple spots if that were to be true. So now let's finish up that tier. So at 6 was Dalton Schultz, followed by Foster Moreau, Greg Dulcich, and Evan Ingram in at number 9 to wrap up the slightly less confident tier, but I'm probably going to be playing these guys tier. And then that's going to bring us to my third tier, where there's just a little bit of concern putting these guys out there, but they're fine plays this week at least. So let's start off with Tyler Conklin at number 10, followed up by George Kittle at number 11, Hunter Henry, Daniel Bellinger, and to wrap that tier up, we have Dawson Knox in at number 14. So Tyler Conklin's the first guy that we really have to talk about, and that's because I am 3 spots ahead of the ECR on him. I have him ranked 10th, and the ECR on him is at number 13, going up against Buffalo this week, and so this just comes down to ultimately expect there to be a lot of plays in this game. So this should work in favor of a guy like Conklin, who does have Mike White's ear to a certain extent. So happy days with Mike White here and hope that that can work out this week with the touchdown. That would be great for Conklin. Then we have George Kittle here at number 11, and I am 5 spots behind the ECR on George Kittle, going up against Tampa Bay. And yes, this comes down to the quarterback. I am concerned. I would have more confidence in this if Brock Purdy had thrown the ball, if he had more than 3 targets last week. I don't even know if all 3 of those were from Brock Purdy. So yeah, there's just some concerns with the quarterback at the helm. And in a fairly neutral matchup, I'm just looking for a little bit more upside from some of these guys that I think, like here, from Evan Ingram on, I'm a little bit more confident about. And then with Tyler Conklin, less confident about that coming to fruition, but it's not like George Kittle has been some excellent start most weeks this year. Now, let's move on to Daniel Bellinger, who I have 3 spots ahead of the ECR. I have him ranked 13th. The ECR on him is 16th, going up against Philadelphia. Not really good matchup, and he would probably be a fair bit higher if it was a good matchup. I did a little bit of Azer statting, which basically means I was a little bit selective with some of the numbers that I put in for Daniel Bellinger's projections, just really taking his stats from once he started to come on this year, and given that he came right back into just about his highest amount of workload that he's had all season in his first week back from that eye injury, I'm pretty sure that I have a good amount of confidence in being a little bit of selective with the stats that I put out, and he's really high up in my projections. The numbers are pretty sweet, so sneaky ad like Daniel Bellinger could be, I don't know about league winner in that offense, but he could be very helpful for some teams down the stretch here in the playoffs. Now let's move on to the next tier, which starts off at tight end 15, and it goes all the way down. There's going to be a little bit of a break here with 15 and 16. So let's just start off with tight end number 15 in my rankings at Noah Fant, followed by Tyler Higbee, Austin Hooper, Mike Gesicki, David Njoku, Jordan Akins, Chigoziem Okonkwo, and Cade Otton to wrap that up at tight end 22, and that's as far as I went for the rankings. There are a few other guys in my projections. Just a heads up if you have to look further or are interested in a name that's not up here. I just took the ECR top 22. That said, I just want to say for Noah Fant and Tyler Higbee, well, as far as Tyler Higbee goes, if Baker Mayfield is playing and starting for the Rams, I have a little bit more confidence in him. Like, he probably goes into this tier maybe ahead of Dawson Knox. I'll have to think about that a little bit in that situation. But also, both of these guys, I couldn't quite decide which tier to put them into. I have a little bit more confidence with them compared to the rest of the tier. And they're very, very close to being in this tier. Let's just start off. Let's see, is there anything else to mention about Tyler Higbee? I have him 5 spots behind the ECR. The ECR on him is at number 11. Going up against Las Vegas, quite a very good matchup for him. But John Wolford may not be the starter this week. And if John Wolford were not to be the starter this week, then I definitely have Tyler Higbee down here. And ultimately, I would probably want to put him back here at like 19-20-ish, right around there, ahead or behind Jordan Akins. But if John Wolford is the quarterback, then, I feel okay about him in a good matchup. So really comes down to a lot of questions on the quarterback situation right now for Tyler Higbee. Then at number 17, I have Austin Hooper, and I have him 4 spots ahead of the ECR. The ECR on him is at 21. I have him at 17 going up against Jacksonville. It's a good matchup. He's done okay as of recent. Sometimes he's had his weeks this season. So, my projections liked him a little bit, so I just kind of trusted the projections on this one. You can check those out once again up on the website. Then let's just talk about these two here quick. So as far as David Njoku goes, it came out earlier today that there are expectations that he will be practicing this week and playing. I believe that was from the head coach. So if that were the case, I would put him up at number 7 ahead of Foster Moreau and feel quite confident in playing him. As confident as you can taking an injured guy and playing him. But going up against Cincinnati is not the greatest matchup in the world, but it is a higher ceiling matchup, just a they do okay against tight ends. So there is some concern about that generally. Let's move on to Cade Otton here. And this is once again going to be very reliant on if Cameron Brate is available or not to play. If Cameron Brate is playing, then it's really, really tough to trust either him or Cade Otton. And Cade Otton's value gets tanked to something like this. If Cade Otton is out there alone, then I like him kind of up ahead of Austin Hooper, but behind Dawson Knox-ish. So maybe ahead of Dawson Knox, I should say. In that range, I would have to think about it a little bit more. But going up against San Francisco, so there is some concern as to how good that defense might be able to do up against Tom Brady this coming up week with how that offense has looked there for Tampa Bay. So that is it for the tight ends. There you go. There's the top 14 for you as I sign out. Once again, quarterbacks video will be coming out soon, and then later on this afternoon, wide receiver, running backs, and you can come visit me live to get my final rankings up on YouTube 1 hour prior to kickoff. And also you can check out my Saturday special video where I will have my start sit / bold takes for the week. So look forward to seeing you in any and all of those videos. Take care.